Did you know that during World War II, the Americans once deployed an army of inflatable tanks? Or that the Germans tried to build a tank so colossal it was nicknamed the Rat? The history of WWII armored warfare is filled with stories so bizarre, you'd think they were straight out of a movie. Today, we're diving deep into 10 of the most fascinating and mind-blowing facts about the tanks that defined an era. From secret weapons to unbelievable battlefield tactics, get ready to see these steel beasts in a whole new light. Let's kick things off with a story of pure deception. Fact number 1, the Ghost Army. In 1944, the US assembled a top-secret unit, the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. Their mission? To fool the German army using an arsenal of inflatable tanks, rubber airplanes, and fake artillery. They'd set up these convincing but completely bogus divisions, complete with sound trucks blasting the noises of troop movements and tank engines. This elaborate ruse successfully drew German forces away from real Allied positions, most famously before the D-Day landings, saving countless lives by making the enemy fight shadows. It was a masterpiece of psychological warfare, proving that sometimes the best weapon isn't a cannon, but a clever idea and a lot of hot air. Next up, fact number 2. The incredible Soviet T-34. What made this tank so legendary? It wasn't the biggest or the most powerful, but it was a game-changer because of its revolutionary sloped armor. Before the T-34, most tanks had flat, vertical armor plates. But the T-34's designers angled the armor. This simple but brilliant change meant that incoming enemy shells were more likely to ricochet off harmlessly instead of penetrating. When the Germans first encountered it during Operation Barbarossa, they were in for a nasty shock. Their existing anti-tank guns were almost useless against it. The T-34's design was so effective, it forced the Germans to completely rethink their own tank development, leading to the creation of the Panther and Tiger tanks, just to compete. It was a perfect balance of speed, protection, and firepower, produced in massive numbers. Over 80,000 were built, making it the most produced tank of the war. Now for something a little different. Fact number 3, the British and their bizarre funnies. The British had a knack for creating some of the weirdest and most specialized tanks of the war. These were collectively known as Hobart's funnies, named after their creator, Major General Percy Hobart. You had the Crab, a Sherman tank equipped with a giant rotating flail on the front, designed to beat the ground and detonate landmines safely. Then there was the Bobbin tank, which laid a massive roll of canvas carpet over soft sand so other vehicles could cross beaches without getting stuck. And who could forget the Churchill Avra, which fired a massive 290mm shell, nicknamed the Flying Dustbin, capable of demolishing concrete bunkers in a single shot. These strange contraptions were crucial during the D-Day landings, clearing obstacles and saving lives where conventional tanks would have failed. Moving on to fact number 4, let us talk about a tank that was more of a legend than a reality. The German Panzer 1000, the Rate. This was Hitler's dream of a super heavy tank, a land battleship. The proposed design was monstrous, weighing 1,000 tons. It would have been armed with 2 massive 280mm naval cannons, the same type used on battleships. It would have been over 100 feet long and required a crew of more than 20 soldiers. The Rate was so heavy, it would have destroyed roads and been unable to cross most bridges. It was a logistical nightmare and ultimately a fantasy. The project was cancelled in 1943 by Albert Speer, the Minister of Armaments, who thankfully recognized its utter impracticality. It remains one of the most audacious and insane weapon designs ever conceived. Fact number 5 highlights the American approach: mass production. The M4 Sherman tank is a perfect example. Was it the best tank on the battlefield? No. German tanks like the Tiger and Panther outmatched it in both armor and firepower. But the Sherman had a crucial advantage. There were just so many of them. The United States' industrial might was able to churn out nearly 50,000 Shermans. They were also reliable, easy to repair, and relatively fast. The Allied strategy often relied on overwhelming numbers. A common tactic was for a group of 5 Shermans to take on a single German Tiger. While the Tiger might knock out 1 or 2, the remaining Shermans would swarm it from the flanks and rear, where its armor was weaker. It was a brutal but effective equation that proved quantity has a quality all its own. Let's jump back to the Soviets for fact number 6, the tank riders. The Soviets pioneered a tactic called tank descent, which literally means tank landing party. Infantry soldiers would climb onto the outside of T-34s and ride them directly into battle. Why? It was a way to keep infantry and tanks moving together at the same speed, providing mutual support. The soldiers on top could suppress enemy anti-tank guns and infantry, protecting the tank, while the tank provided heavy firepower and cover for the soldiers. Of course, it was an incredibly dangerous job for the infantry, who were completely exposed to enemy fire. But in the brutal, fast-paced combat of the Eastern Front, it was a surprisingly effective way to punch through enemy lines. Fact number 7 introduces a tank that wasn't a tank at all. The German Sturmgeschütz, or Stug, was a turretless assault gun built on a Panzer III chassis. By removing the complex and expensive turret, the Germans could mount a more powerful gun and add thicker frontal armor, all while making the vehicle cheaper and faster to produce. Stugs were originally designed to support infantry by knocking out bunkers and machine gun nests. But with their low profile and potent cannons, they proved to be exceptional tank destroyers. In fact, Stug units accounted for more Allied and Soviet tank kills than any other German vehicle, including the famous Tiger and Panther tanks. They were the unsung workhorses of the German army. Now for a bit of battlefield ingenuity. Fact number 8, makeshift armor upgrades. Tank crews on all sides were constantly looking for ways to improve their vehicles' protection. They didn't wait for official upgrades from the factory. American Sherman crews would weld extra steel plates scavenged from destroyed vehicles onto their hulls. They also famously stacked sandbags around their tanks, believing it would help defeat German anti-tank rockets, though its effectiveness was debatable. German crews would attach spare track links to the front of their tanks, adding an extra layer of steel. These field modifications, known as applique armor, show the resourcefulness of soldiers trying to gain any possible edge to survive the horrors of armored combat. Fact number 9 brings us to the heaviest operational tank of the war, the German Panzer VIII Maus, or Maus. Unlike the fictional Ratte, 2 prototypes of the Maus were actually built. This thing was a true behemoth, weighing in at a staggering 188 tons. Its armor was so thick, up to 9 inches on the front, that it was believed to be immune to any Allied anti-tank weapon of the time. However, its immense weight made it incredibly slow, with a top speed of just 12 miles per hour. It was so heavy, it couldn't cross bridges. Instead, it was designed to be able to snorkel across rivers. Ultimately, the Maus was too slow, too expensive, and too mechanically unreliable to be a practical weapon. Both prototypes were captured by the Soviets at the end of the war. Finally, fact number 10, the amphibious DD tanks. DD stood for duplex drive. These were standard Sherman tanks, modified to be amphibious. They were encased in a large, waterproof canvas screen that could be raised to provide buoyancy, and they were propelled in the water by 2 propellers at the back. The idea was to launch them from ships several miles offshore, allowing them to swim to the beach and provide immediate fire support for the first wave of infantry during the D-Day landings. On some beaches, like Utah, they were a huge success. However, on Omaha Beach, rough seas overwhelmed most of the DD tanks, swamping them and sending them to the bottom of the English Channel before they ever reached the shore, contributing to the heavy casualties there. It was a high-risk, high-reward innovation that perfectly illustrates the daring and often tragic nature of WWII science warfare. From inflatable decoys to swimming tanks and land battleships, the story of World War II armor is more incredible than fiction. These 10 facts only scratch the surface of the innovation, desperation, and sheer genius that went into the design and deployment of these iconic machines. They weren't just weapons. They were symbols of industrial power and the ever-changing face of modern warfare. What do you think is the most fascinating tank fact from the war? Let me know down in the comments. Thanks for watching, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into military history, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more. We'll see you in the next one.